Okay. So normally nowadays, if you are going for the real-time interviews, you might get the real-time assignments. There might be different situations where you will get the create the Terraform project where you need to install set up the or involve the technology stack like your helm chart, your any networking part or database side or any pod deployment for the WordPress. Okay, so that's I have completed two last time. So I want to quickly show you that. So normally when they give the assignments, they will ask create the proper structure document with the architecture diagram and then source code, how you set up this Terraform code. Okay. And what will be the areas like how you think like this service will be useful and how you make sure like cost should be optimized, right? Because when we design the architecture in that we need to consider the cost optimization as well. We can't go blindly and create any unnecessary resources there in the architecture. So this is one of the project where I can show you quickly. First, I will show you the diagram, the free website, which is draw.io, where you can design the architecture diagram. It's very useful. You can easily draw the diagram. And let me open that here. This is basically create the overall overview like create the custom VPC, which is the secure VPC. There should be private and public subnet. Then inside public private subnet, create the RDS instance with the cluster mode. Okay. So this is how you can draw the diagram. Let me check how I can make it full screen. Okay. So like this is the user basically where he will create access the Bastion server first. Okay, which we already covered last time. He will access the public subnet facing Bastion host. Then from there, he will access the private subnet database where it's a replication or cluster you can say we have configured, which is in the private subnet. This is the architecture of the VPC where VPC CIDR range available. Then we will create public subnet, private subnet. Okay, and within a private subnet, we will host a database server. It can be either a single host or multi-node like your cluster part. Okay. And apart from these, I have not included here like a security group and your other settings. Yeah, security group I have mentioned here. So we will open the required port only wherever the like let's say you are working for the real-time project. So you should open only inbound rules for the your VPN IP address, not the public one. Or from where you are actually connecting, like let's say Bastion host. So you can use Bastion host private IP address to open the traffic for the in the database inbound rules. Okay. So for that, how you can use and this we have designed the document as well.
Good evening, sir.
Good
Can
morning.
you hear
Yes,
me?
audible now. Yes.
Good morning.
Okay. So this is basically the custom project where custom VPC with the secured with the high available database and the requirement you can see choose an appropriate database engine supported by RDS. It can be MySQL, Postgres or Aurora. Implement a multi-AZ, which is the cluster basically for high availability and fault tolerance. Secure database connection. Set up a automated backup and restore process. I'm not sure why Rohit is not admitting. Might be network issue. Okay. Then prevent data loss and ensure quick recovery. Then implement monitoring and logging solution for the RDS instance, which we last time show, right? How we can enable that log option when we set up the database instance initially when we cover the in the AWS session. Okay. Then design the RDS module to be scalable. Consider options such as a read replicas for read heavy workloads. Okay. So the reason behind to use cluster node, because when we set up single instance where we can perform the operations read and write. Okay. But when we set up the cluster node like read and writer and reader, which is the master slave architecture in normal word. So in that case, we can query the performance like write operation only for the master servers writer, which is the writer role. But wherever we are fetching the read only operations, that should be go to the read only servers, which is the slave servers, not the master one, which is writer one, because we don't want to put unnecessary workload every for the every queries on the single servers. So that is the reason we use cluster and for the read operation basically. Okay, so all the read operation will go to the and serve from the read server, slave server. Then fine tune database parameter using parameter groups, which last time we show like custom parameter we can add. Like let's say by default we have a 5 seconds query timeout. If you want to increase that, then we should use parameter group, where in the AWS you can find that. Anyone tried that database setup? When you set up the RDS instance, anyone try to configure that custom parameter group? No, or not aware about the parameter group?
Not aware about the parameter.
Okay, so this is basically when we set up the instance on the Linux machine, for example. So we will get the, let me draw here. So on the EC2 instance, if you want to install MySQL, okay, then definitely we will execute some command like I mean install MySQL or something client वगैरह. Okay, so in that case, if you want to fine tune the database like any query optimization or any database related configuration like increase the query timeout or increase any other memory things or any other options, that we can do in the slash etc. It location can be different. I am just drawing just roughly here. MySQL my.cnf something. If you configured Linux on MySQL on EC2 instance, normal. Okay. But in AWS case, we don't have any this kind of file structure, right? Because it's a managed database service. So here the option is you can use the parameter group in the AWS. So if I show you the option, like let's say this is the custom parameter group which I created last time. So here you can get this number of options. If I show the known one, let's say timeout, you can see connection timeout, then your net read timeout, wait timeout. If you are executing any query on the database, if that query expected to execute more than 1 minute, in that case, if your by default timeout is less than 60 seconds, I mean 30 seconds or something, in that case, definitely your query will be timeout. If you are little bit aware about the database stuff, okay. So in that case, we need to increase the timeout session, like your from 30 seconds to 1 minute or more than that, okay, based on your configuration. So in that case, if you are using traditional MySQL, which is on the EC2 instance, then obviously you should go this configuration file slash etc MySQL and then configuration file and just increase the that number timeout. But in the AWS case, we need to use this parameter group. If you want to modify this, let's say for example wait timeout, so I can simply go to this edit option and I can search here.
So whatever the settings are there, it will be tell by database administrator only.
Yeah, database administrator as well as based on the error, what error you are facing in the query execution or something. Sometimes you need to increase the memory for the MySQL database. So in that case, you have to increase that. Obviously, based on the logs, error logs, and if you are sometimes some project might don't have a dedicated database developer or administrator. So in that case, as an architect, I mean the DevOps engineer or developer or cloud engineer, based on the error which we are facing, based on that we can increase the parameter group. So just make a note of here. By default, whichever you get the parameter group, default parameter group, you cannot increase that. When you launch database, these are the by default parameter group, which has by default created by the AWS, or you can say generic. So you cannot increase this or increase in any value in this. If I try to open, so you can see I cannot see the edit option here because these are the by default parameter group, which is the provided by the AWS. So we cannot modify it. So if you want to use for the real-time use cases for the any database, so you have to create the custom parameter groups for that. It's based on your whatever the database you are using. So you can see these are the for the MySQL Aurora. So if you want to create new one for the, let's say for another database, you can see you can give the name like demo parameter. If you let's say you are using MySQL Aurora or Postgres or any IBM DB SQL Server for the Windows base or MySQL Community Edition, Oracle, it's depend on the project to project. So you have to create the custom parameter groups, and once you create that custom parameter groups, then during the launch of your database instance, let's say here, let's say I'm selecting this Aurora, okay, for example, I'm just showing that where you get that option parameter group selection. Okay, we can just skip this part now. This is just a configuration. And here you will get that option here. This is the VPC settings. Okay, this is a subnet group. Templates, which is fine. Then identity credentials, secrets, which is fine. Here, okay, in the additional configuration. So you have to pass this custom parameter group here. By default, if you don't specify any parameter groups, you will by default get that. Don't worry. But in future, if you want to add any customization like in the parameter groups, like increasing the timeout session, then your memory configuration like that. If you want to do database level optimization, in that case, by default, created parameter group will not support here. You have to given the customized one. Even after launching the EC2 instance as well, you can just modify this value. No issues. But just you cannot modify anything value in the default parameter groups. Okay. If you want to use customize, you can just select from here and you can just save it. And what in the parameter group, what option we can get? If I open this one, you can see there are almost 419 entries. Okay. So we don't need to modify each and everything based on the either database developer suggest. Okay. If you have a collaboration team, their database developer will be there. And sometimes you might not have a proper database developer. So in that case, based on the performance or any issues, errors in the CloudWatch logs, so according to that, you have to take the action. If the database getting timeouts, then obviously you need to increase that query connect timeout. If you want to modify that, you need to click here, edit, and you can just search again timeout, and you have to give the value here. And you can see number of things like session, SSL session, wait timeout, net, lock, different things are there. Is that clear now?
Namdev, basically thing is that this configuration and other things are using by database administrator. Then I don't think so. We need to worry on this.
Yeah, you don't need to. We don't need to worry. But as I said, if because as according to my experience, some of the project might not have a dedicated database developer. So in that case, based on the error, you need to uh, figure it out. If there are a very normal use case, let's say you are working in the big organization where you are dealing with the multiple projects. In that case, there might be a chances like there is a no database administrator or developer available. Okay, they are just using the uh, like sometimes they manage by the architect as well, right? Your project architecture. So either they can suggest you like increase the size, or based on the error you need to figure it out how which things you need to increase. But that's not a bigger challenge. So definitely based on the error, we can definitely increase if you want to optimize the database configuration. So just I'm just showing here the traditional based Linux MySQL configuration where you need to enter this my.cnf file where you will get this kind of file. I know DB. Basically, this is a MySQL engine where you need to give the memory for the database optimization and more other things like you will see lots of option actually, but I am not able to get it here. You also bind the particular IP address. Let's say you want to access that database from the particular IP address only. So in that case also, you can add the host address there in the MySQL database configuration file. But that is for the traditional base. But in this AWS case, you can just definitely manage through the security groups. Okay. And coming to that point, now steps to follow to entire stack creation. Okay. So now we have this requirement. Requirement is clear. Basically, we need a secure database servers where it can be available in the high availability, which is the cluster mode. Okay, and within the private subnet. So and also we need to enable the monitoring part, logging part like that. So step to create this entire stack, create custom VPC with the public and private subnet, then create security group obviously with the only MySQL port should be open, okay? And only for the particular IP range, not for the public one like 000. Okay. For the practicals, you can definitely open that, but as a real time cases, you should not open that port. Then create a MySQL Aurora. We are using this Aurora. Okay. So the reason behind this Aurora, if you are aware or remember last time which we covered in the database. So there is a two type of database. This is a MySQL, let's say, and this is the Aurora MySQL. Aurora MySQL is customized by the AWS. Okay, and this MySQL is basically the traditional. We can consider as a traditional one, which normally people use on the either your dedicated machine or your VM or your EC2 instance, which is you can consider as a VM basically. Okay, so in this case, you have to put lots of efforts like install the packages, install the patches. Okay, then your file configuration for the database either as shown my.cnf, right? Then you're managing the service like your MySQL service basically. Systemctl restart MySQL service like that. Okay. Then user creation, then database creation. Okay. And managing the permission like that. So, but as a management, this will take lots of time. Okay. The traditional one, and you have to put the lots of efforts. Like you should have a Linux skills to install these MySQL packages. Then you should aware about the Linux commands there, right? And also you should have a little bit knowledge about the how to create the user for particular IP address. So normally, definitely in the AWS, we can manage through the security group, but in the traditional way, when you are creating any particular user in the database, okay, so there is a query we can assign. I have in the document, but it will take to time now fetch it. So let me quickly show you here. MySQL query to create user. So basically, we are discussing about the database setup. This is the complete project basically. So that's why I'm just showing you each thing. See, this kind of query we need to execute. Create user, your username at the rate localhost identified by password. Okay. So the meaning of this query basically, this is the query executions where you need to create the query, create the users. Then this is your actual username, which user you want to give the access. Okay. Let's say for your ABC something. Then localhost means this user need to connect from which IP address. Okay. If you have a specific IP address like your VPN or any application servers IP address, so then you have to give the specific IP address here, as you can see here. Okay. The range. But if you don't want to give from the any particular network, you have to give on the, you want to give only the local access, which that user can access only through the from that particular servers. Then you have to give the localhost here. Okay. This is just the meaning of this query. But in this AWS case, you don't worry about this all the setups because it's a managed service. That's why the cost wise, you will see the little bit difference here in the RDS as compared to normal EC2 instance. Okay, because they have given the lots of option and optimization way, and we don't need to have the Linux skill here, right? We can easily either you can use Terraform code or you can graphically as well. You can just configure this entire database stuffs. Okay. So as a end user, you don't need to worry about the Linux part here because it's a graphically option you can set up easily. If you want to set up through the Terraform, then definitely you should aware about the Terraform structure. Okay. Then backup stuffs, you don't need to worry about the backup part because this will taken care by the automatically feature in the RDS. But in the normal traditional way, you have to give on the either you can write down the bash script or any Python script or something. Then you have to set up that through the cron jobs like that because that's, and also management is a very hectic. You need to worry about the take care about the cron jobs executions or logs like that, backups happening or not like that, but in the AWS services, once you enable that option, create the backup daily basis and with the retention period, that will take care automatically. Okay. That's the benefit. And one more additional part is like in the traditional base, we need to worry about the disk space, right? Disk space. If disk space getting increase, okay, increase then, sorry, disk space, if disk space getting full, we have to increase that manually, like your EBS volume increase. We have seen last time, right? But in this case, Aurora, you don't need to worry about the disk space. When you create the Aurora database, it will automatically taken care. If your database getting increase, ABS volume automatically got increase. Okay. If your database automatically reducing because of you have deleted lots of unnecessary records, logs, something like that. So it will automatically scale down your EBS volume size. So that's additional benefit. Okay. So based on this, all the configurations we have just selected here, Aurora as a MySQL database. Then obviously we will set up the multi-AZ for failure. And if you want to test to connect database securely, then we can create an additional bash and host which is we have seen in the architecture diagram here, right? We will create the bash and host server, and then from bash and host, user will connect, and from there we can get the database access. Okay, because in this case we don't have a VPN connection. If you have a VPN connection and direct connect service, which can integrate the your office network to AWS network privately, in that case you don't require bash and host. Okay, it will directly connect to, from your VPN to your AWS network VPN. That is the different service, direct connect. You can just read about that. And for the security point of view, as I said last time, we we don't need to store the credentials on the local host or any plain text format. Okay, we will use secret manager here, where secret manager can automatically store the database credentials. Okay, and from there we can use the secret server. We can get the credentials, or either you can use any third party tools which where like a password manager or a password manager, basically LastPass or one password. Anyone using in the project LastPass or one password? These are the password manager majorly people use in the organization.
We are using the PIMS.
Okay. So now I will show you the Terraform code. Then obviously we have a life cycle like Terraform initialization, then plan and apply command. Okay. This was just additional step. That's how to test the database connectivity. Create additional bash and host in the public subnet. Then obviously telnet by default will not be there to check the connection. Anyone aware about this telnet command? Why we use? This is the Linux command, right?
Multiple times.
Sorry.
Multiple times I have using the telnet commands
Yeah,
on
to
the
check the
Linux.
particular port open or not, right? To test the
Daily basis,
connectivity.
6 to 7 times I'm checking and analyzing.
Okay. Now let me open this code from the Visual Studio. I hope now in module wise you don't have any major issues, right? Any doubts or something? Why we use module wise in the real time? Now it's
Yes,
clear.
now maximum parts are clear.
Mhm. So in short, basically, instead of writing everything in the single file like main.tf, we are just segregating with the proper folder structure like service files. These are the providers. Obviously, we can add the providers in the main.tf as well, but we are just separating that. It will help us to during the troubleshooting point of view. So this is just basically VPC CIDR range configuration here and the availability zones which we tested in the North Virginia, and this is the username. Password we have not given here. I will show you that where how we call the password. Okay. This is the VPC configuration, internet gateway, subnets, main configuration I will show you for the database. This is the just a ingress rule to open the MySQL port. For practice, we are using it for the 000, but in the actual case, as I said, you can use the your VPN IP address. This is the configuration for the, as I said, we are using the custom parameter group. So this is the resource block for the custom parameter group. This is the name of the parameter group. We have given anything based on your identification, and family should be proper one. Okay, this be like a Aurora MySQL 8.0. When you are using this Visual Studio, I will give you one tricks here. So you have to, if you can install this plugin, Where is that option? Here. From the view extension, you can install this Terraform plugin. So you will get this proper format in this when you write actual code. So I have installed this HashiCorp plugins here. If you have not installed in your Visual Studio, you can definitely go and just install it. HashiCorp Terraform. So it's basically gives us the benefit. So let's say how it will give benefit. If you press Control plus space button, he will give the automatic option. Let's say I am just removing this. Okay, you can see he will start giving the error here, right? Like we can just get idea like we are missing something here. If I'm not sure about this, which value I should use here, okay, then you can just press Control and space bar. If you are using MacBook, then there might be like Command plus space bar something, okay. But for the Windows base, I'm just showing this option, and you will get this lots of option here. So based on that, you can just select. At least you will get the hints like, yeah, these are the options available which I can use here, for example. Let me try from here for here. If I try to control and spacebar, I will get this lots of available options here. Okay. This is just a modification of the parameter group which we have given the requirement like here. Here fine tune database parameter using parameter groups. Okay. So instead of going and adding unnecessary things here, I just add only two things. Just these are the just a character set server, which is the character wise. Okay. You can add here your connection timeout increase or any other stuffs. It's a depend on the use cases. Okay. And this is how generated the password for the database. This is the random password. This is block where you can generate like length. You can keep whatever you want to keep like 16 digit, 20 digit, 30 digit like that. Special character, yes. And you can just override these values. This is the resource block for the creating the secret manager name. Okay. And this is how you can pass the variable here in the resource block for the secret manager. So AWS secret manager here dot db password. Okay. So where we pass the db database here, he will get the based on that he will create the password randomly and stored in the vault. That result will be stored in the secret manager. This is the resource block for the database creation where we use engine as Aurora MySQL. Okay. Then he will get the variable as a database name, master username, secret manager from the above string. Okay. And this is for the preferable backup window because in the given sorry in the requirement we have get the requirement like enable the backup, right? Set up the automated backup. So based on that we have set up here backup retention period. I just given the 7 days, but you can make it as a 1 day 2 days based on your use case. Okay. And this is the preferable backup window. You can just give one like after the business hours like 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. whatever you want to take daily basis backup. Security groups. And then these are the parameter groups which we have already passed above. And this is the enable CloudWatch log exports, which means when we set up the database, I will show you quickly here. So you will get the idea. So let's say I am going to create the Aurora MySQL here, for example, graphical. So I can go quickly down. Same settings, whatever we are just giving there in the Terraform code, like adding the username password in the secret manager, then configuration, like which instance type you want to choose, then multi-AZ enable or not. Okay. Then VPC configuration, subnets, security groups which we want to use. For example, availability zones, we can mention either or just skip it. And just might be in the additional option. Let me check that. This is the backup window which we have seen in the Terraform code. Okay. And these are the log exports which we are discussing about this. Where is that? Here. Enable CloudWatch log exports. Okay. Audit log, error log, general and slow query. So same thing which we normally do from the graphical way. So we are just going to the from the Terraform code as simple as. Okay. And this is the maintenance window preferable like that. So same configuration we have just added in the Terraform code. This is for the minor version upgradation, which we seen here, right? Maintenance window. So based on that, you can just select, and this is just a we have not added any output here because this is just a database server. And inside the variables, you can see the master username, VPC CIDR range, right? Let me try to deploy this. So last time we faced some issue, but let me try. Let me log into first AWS console. It's which region I have mentioned here. Let me check quickly. EU West 1. Okay. EU West 1 means which one? EU West 1. Okay. Or if you don't want to use that region, if you want to use Mumbai only, so let me change the code here. For Mumbai, what region code we have? App South, AP South 1. Okay. So let me replace that. So how you can replace that? Open that file and change this region. Okay. And then okay, we are good now. So let me try to execute. If you are executing Terraform initialization from the wrong location, wrong file, you will get the error. Okay, you are not in the proper folder structure. So you should be properly enter into that particular folder. Okay, successfully initialize. Then if I make it like Terraform plan, let's see. So as of now, there is no database, and let me open the VPC as well. Okay. Okay, in the plan, you can see lots of whatever the output, like what things are going to deploy. Okay, you can just verify that. Once that is satisfied, you can just execute that command. Terraform apply. And if you don't want to press that yes again and again, just add the flag auto approve. Okay, it will take as a by default yes. And you can see here log file has been generated because it's a log the process. So no one other your team member can deploy the changes on the Terraform. So status you can just monitor by here line by line, like it's started creating the database, sorry, for VPC first. Then here we start creating the database with the secret manager service. So we can just go to this AWS console and just we can verify side by side. As of now, it's a 2 VPC and you can see the name. This one, right? Recently created. Okay, just cluster is created. Now it's creating the two nodes, which can be a writer and reader. Okay. So as of now, by default, both are the reader instance, but once it's created and stabilized, it will change role as a one should be writer and other one is reader one. Okay. See, the role has been changed, right? So going forward, he will make a, it will take little bit time to stabilize because database creation takes time. So let's go to the secret manager service and just check the password has been created or not. Yeah, RDS 4, which we have given the name here. Name you can given anyway, anything, no issues. Here we have passed the name in the secret manager resource block, RDS 4. This is basically during the Terraform code writing and just testing. We normally give the name here like RDS Aurora DB password, but it's getting failed. So tried number of times RDS 1, 2, 3, 4. So that the reason I kept as RDS 4 there, but you can give the anything name. Okay. And we can just track the status as well here. It's getting created, still creating. We know database might take some time. Any doubts in this setup or anything? You can consider as this is the real-time project for the database server. I will pass this Terraform code to you so you can just run from your local machine, and this will be your real-time use case if you can follow and execute this code on your local machine with and just try to see if that is working properly or not in your local from your local machine. So in this code, you don't need to worry about anything changes because we have not given any S3 bucket or something. Okay, because this is completely state file will be stored on your local machine. Any doubts in this database creation or setup? I'm audible, right? If you are able to understand, then it's very good. If you're not, just you can just let me know. So I would like from your local machine, you can just execute this project. So you will get like how we can set up and how to execute that from your local machine. So you will get the some little bit confidence over there. And don't worry about the Terraform code. You will get anywhere like on the internet if you search or if you search through the Chat GPT or any AI tool. So you will get easily the Terraform code because in the Terraform use worldwide. So you will get easily from any blogs or AI tools or something. So you don't need to remember that Terraform code, but at least where you need to change the values that we should aware like I can share this code with you like a complete project. I will just remove this folder because this is the plugins information. Otherwise the size will be increased. You can see 261 MB. Okay. And ultimately it will generate when you execute a Terraform initialization command on your local machine, it will automatically generate. So don't worry about that. This documentation architecture diagram I will share with you. You can try to execute from your local machine and just let me know if you are getting any issues related to any configuration issues or any plugins or something from your local machine. Any doubts before? I think that's all for the today's session I want to cover for the Terraform project. So next Saturday we will see that Kubernetes architecture and the other important configuration definition, what things we need to take care about the real time, and then going forward I will show you this one of the Kubernetes project which we missed last time, which is we use WordPress pod deployment there, and we can deploy through the Helm chart. Okay, so we will cover that in the detail next Saturday, Sunday, and then going forward we will cover that monitoring stuffs which are the pending.